Bem-vindo and welcome to Portugal. Welcome to a brand new episode of CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. So the M3 and now the M4 in many ways signifies a really big deal for the BMW group. Why is that? It's that one production car that gives the group its bragging rights. So it's important. So has the company got it right with the new generation?
Yes, I've been waiting to drive these two cars, waiting with bated breath. And why not? The BMW M3 has for long carried the tag of being one of the world's most capable, fun and dynamic road cars, all while looking reasonably tame in its sedan or coupe avatar.
Quick history lesson. Back in 1990, the E30 was the first M3 and that's when the whole legend, let's say, started. 238 horses, that car impressed people, but it was the next generation which came out in 1992, the E36. That really defined what this whole M3 legacy has been all about ever since then. Straight six engine, 320 horses. To many people, this was quite literally the ultimate driving machine. Now, turn of the century and the E46 again took popularity levels for the M3 even higher. 343 horses, but for me, I guess, given my age, the car I've spent the most time driving, the most miles that I've clocked, has to be on the E92. 420 horses, V8. It didn't seem to get better than this. So now the question is, and this is where the history lesson ends, does the new car manage to top just the kind of cult and the kind of overall performance credentials that this one has achieved?
That's a tough act to follow, and so it was crucial to really get under the skin of the new generation, what with the badging now splitting into the M3 and the M4.
So we brought both these cars to the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. The circuit is 4.69 kilometers long. We're not going to be doing the entire loop, but we've got enough opportunity to see if the promise on the M3 and M4 really does exist. Now remember, these cars are supposed to come alive on the track, so do they? Let's head inside to find out.
The track at Portimao is brilliant. Challenging yet thrilling. Undulating and sharp. And it's the perfect test bed for these twins. I had our CNB Jura and Zignition's Adil Jaldaru Khanawala with us, and so we are taking turns on both the cars. The 3-litre V6 engine has two equal-sized turbos that basically service 3 cylinders each. The units feature electronic wastegates for more accurate and faster boost control.
Was it a wise move from BMW to go from naturally aspirated V8 to twin-power turbo V6 inline? Well, you know what? The purists may say otherwise, but after having driven the car, I think the simple answer is yes. What they've done is that they've been smart. They've been simple yet very crucial elements that have been used in this engine to make sure that it's every bit the M3 experience that you're looking for. Now, you've already heard about the two things in terms of what happens with that turbo, but the crucial part, I think, is just where that power delivery comes in. Now, on the outgoing car, you had that really just coming in at one point, the peak power delivery at one point on that RPM scale. Here, the difference is that from about 4,500 RPM all the way to about 7,000 RPM, you carry on hitting that peak optimum power of 431 horses. Now, that is absolute bliss, because no matter where you are on that entire huge power band, you continue to get the optimum performance, you continue to get that maximum power, which makes driving so much fun.
The M3 can go from 0 to 100 km/h in 4.1 seconds. and the generous 550 Nm of torque is very apparent in this car. Torque is up a massive 40% compared to the last M3's V8 engine. BMW engineers told me that they had to opt for the 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox because the 8-speed ZF that goes into some of their other cars couldn't handle the torque.
The dual-clutch gearbox is responsive on the track for sure, but I have to say that in Sport Plus mode, which is what I'm doing right now on the track, it does have a little bit of a, not a delay, but there's almost like a little pause when you're actually using the paddle shifters to switch gears and not staying in auto or drive mode. And to me, that's a little bit of a pain, because on a manual gearbox, I know I would have a little bit more control. So when you're coming in fast out of a corner, you really want to be able to quickly slam it down and take off. That little hesitation kind of costs you. Maybe on the open road, it won't be such an issue though.
This is especially true if you change the gearbox character by fiddling with this button at the base of the gear stick. This allows you to change the response time, gear ratios, and generally go from a comfort-oriented to a sportier feel. The active M differential optimizes traction and driving stability, again to suit the driving conditions. On this fast and really undulating track, it's proving very useful to me. With our track drive done, Adil and I are now managing to get quite a few miles in the two cars as we zip across the lovely Algarve countryside.
Alright, so it's day 2, and as you can see that we've got the two cars with us again. Adil's in the other car today because yesterday I spent primarily most of my time driving the M3 in that gorgeous Yas Marina blue. It's the Austin yellow with me today. That's the M4, and the two of us are going to stick together. Lots of countryside driving yet again through some gorgeous routes. Let's get on with it.
Oh, as we begin the drive the next day, I can already tell you, I'm a fan of the new M3 and M4. They're easily some of the best, if not the best work from the M division, and define what the BMW brand stands for and is in a very precise way. We are driving northeast now towards the Mertola municipality, close to the Spanish border.
Now there's 3 settings to pretty much everything in the car. You know how Audi has Drive Select, where you can pretty much adjust all the different responses of the car. Well, here you have separate buttons that lets you do that. The steering can go from Comfort to Sport Plus. The same is true of the throttle. The same is true of the gear shifts as well. You can adjust all 3 manually, and you can get into the different modes and different configurations in terms of what works for you. It has been fun. I have to say that the Sport Plus mode is just as dynamic as you expect it should be on a car like this, and that's good, that's satisfying. On the gear changes, you've already heard what I had to say, that when you put it into the third mode, the gears just kind of slam in too suddenly, and when it's in the first mode, there's almost a little sluggishness to it. But otherwise, it's been an absolute hoot.
There's very little to differ the two cars, but having spent some time now driving the M4 on these beautiful open roads, I can tell you that it does drive a tad better. Only just, though.
So purists would say that this doesn't sound like an M3 or an M4 for that matter, because it's not naturally aspirated, it's not a V8, but there has been some emphasis laid to how the car sounds. It has a nice deep rumbly sort of a engine note, and when you put it into Sport Plus mode in terms of the throttle response setting, well then things sort of start singing very differently, because the butterfly valves open up and you get this really nice meaty growly sort of a throttle response, which frankly is a lot of fun to drive with. So I guess I'm not one of the purists.
The countryside just keeps getting more and more gorgeous, by the way, as we keep lapping up the kilometers.
Handling's supposed to be a hallmark on a car like this, And you know what? It is. It just really does the job, and it's really helped in a very big way by a very precise steering. It's been such a pleasure to drive the car with this steering, because in all three settings on that steering control, you get this great precision. You just know exactly where the car is going to go. You get a sense of a good feedback from the road. And you know what? They haven't softened it. All those fears that BMW is going to go really soft on the new M3 or the M4, it hasn't happened. Nice and stiff. It gives you this great sense of driving control.
And yes, I have not forgotten to show you the specs. It's a nice little recap that summarizes just why I'm having so much fun with these cars, isn't it? The numbers do justice to the car's credentials. The new generation F80 is 80 kgs lighter than its predecessor. Just that V6 engine is 15 kgs lighter than the V8 was. The car uses carbon fiber in the front end strut brace and in the drive shaft. This reduces weight and yet offers more rigidity. On the inside, the car screams sportiness. Now, I won't bore you with the details, but expect pretty much every piece of equipment and creature comfort that there is at this end of the market. I still love the little detail of the stitching done in M colors and the quality of leather used everywhere. The town of Mertola is the seat of the municipality. It's built on a huge hill on the banks of the Guadiana River and dates its origins back to the Phoenician and Roman times before being controlled by the Moors for over 500 years.
The carbon fiber roof's sort of a signature for the M3 and now the M4 as well. There is one interesting point though. The engineering team was very clear at BMW that it wanted identical figures on the M3 and M4 when it comes to performance. Now, it's not easy to always achieve that. Now, remember, this is just a regular sedan body style. So, you've got a boot. There's a bit of a stuck-on spoiler lip here. But to try and make sure you get exactly the same performance figures on the Coupe, which has a very different sloping roof line and a stubbier rear end, how do you do it? Well, intelligence is what kicks in, because what they've done is they've played with the metal here. The surface of the metal is very different to what you see on the sedan's boot, and there's a bit of a duckbill stretched out kind of a spoiler treatment integrated into the metal. That helps you create the same sort of aerodynamics as you get on the sedan, and so both the figures end up being identical. It's pretty smart, isn't it?
Smart indeed, and very thoughtfully designed, built and engineered. That in a nutshell sums up the new M3 and M4 from BMW. The cars are fantastic benchmarks, will make the competition scurry for cover and will delight their buyers. Will India get the Coupe? Well, I expect the M3 first later this year, but I do think the M4 will be offered, though in limited numbers.